Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about Webtoon and more specifically about my love for Webtoon and why I'm doing it. So the first thing with Webtoon is that you're literally making hours, days, weeks and months just to plan for one episode, and all that just for the readers to spend like 15 to 10 minutes on one episode. And that's normal, that's the way it's done. But when I started making Webtoon for the first time, it was 2 years ago. I used to think that it was such a long process and it felt useless to make Webtoon, even though I liked doing it. And for example, here I was just drawing without knowing where to go with the background and character sheets, and I just started making the Webtoon with vague idea of the plot, but I was just content for that because at least I've started it, and it was already a big deal because I had some problem with starting stuff, and I often tend to overthink, and since I'm also a perfectionist, I'm used to not starting at all. So I was just happy that I was doing it. As time goes by, I started to doing more new Webtoon projects. And sometimes it would just take too much energy and time from me because I had to deal with school and Webtoon at the same time. And to be honest, on top of being a perfectionist, it's not the ideal job. But the thing that kept me going is like making stories and writing my own characters, and just having one episode complete was just satisfying to watch. I also wanted the reader to be invested in the story, just like I did for the animes and movies I used to watch. Now I'm going to tell you what some of the thoughts I had during the process of making Webtoon. Honestly, I did find it so overwhelming at first because I was like, I have a lot to deal with, like from storyboarding to line art, coloring, shadows and lights, and everything that goes with. On top of that, I had to be a scriptwriter, and that's just a lot. As a beginner, it can be a bit discouraging, but so at the time I was just like, why am I still doing it? So I just spent hours hoping that the story would be interesting enough for someone to see it and like it. But then I remember why I liked watching movies myself. It's all because of the stories. The story is actually gonna stay for so much longer, because if the story's universe and characters are interesting enough, it's gonna be remembered. And just spending that much time, even if they read it in like 15 minutes, it's gonna be remembered, so it's gonna be rent-free in their head for so much longer. I just had to keep reminded of that and keep going. For example, just like when I finished watching an anime, I remember the emotions I felt and how much it was hard to let go of those characters for a while. And I think it might be the same for most of y'all. I think those movies just makes us reflect on how we want to live and how we should live as a human being. And for me, the main approach of starting when making Webtoon. It was anime One Piece, childhood anime, and I was just so inspired by the characters. I was like, how did the creator make that? How was he able to build such a complex universe and characters? And I think that's the power. Just like that, I wanted to do comic as well. And so I had those struggles while making webtoons, and I think that we often tend to forget that it's gonna be worth making and creating stories. It's just like for animation movies, in all the movies, serials, it's like for 1 hour of entertainment, but behind the scenes it's so much effort put on, and we often tend to forget the true value of the format. That's why I try to reflect on why I was starting making webtoon, and this video is actually based on a page from my journal where I rant about whether or not I should continue making webtoon and if it's worth my time. And I thought it would be a good idea to share that online because I might not be the only one who had those thoughts. So I think that cartoons, comic, webtoon, animation, it's like giving an escape world for children and a guide on how to live your life for adults. Now I know that even if I spent 7 hours of making one episode of Webtoon, the readers, it's gonna stay in their brain, because when we feel something strong, we cannot forget it. It stays in the brain and we remember it for a very long time. For example, years ago, I remember my brother told me he watched an animation movie, and he told me that this movie made him reflect on himself and how he wanna live on. Even though I thought that he already has his life figured out, but I think like those little impacts that can have on people through arts, it's what's beautiful to me. So yeah, I was just contemplating on why I was making comics in the first place, because I know that once you got into it, it's a bit hectic, and sometimes you might feel like, why am I doing this in the first place? Because when we get into the big project that often takes a lot of time, we tend to forget why we are doing things we do, and I think it's important to spend your time wisely and remember the root of your goal. And also, if you want to know more about the process of making webtoon and planning the process in Notion, let me know in the comments. And I hope you like this video, and if you ever felt the same way, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, last thing, if you ever had one comic or movie or anime that totally changed your life, feel free to share them. Yeah, that's it. See you in another one. Bye.